We are going. So, a warm welcome to you all, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. Today, I'm joined by a best selling international author, ex army officer, and a results coach. I can't wait to get into her backstory, which involves many health challenges, not least having to learn to walk again,
Mm,
despite being told by doctors that she never would. As if that wasn't enough, doctors and top ranking specialists gave up on her baby son. So my guest immersed herself in medical study and he's now a healthy and elite athlete.
mhm.
Another skill she's honed is taming her inner critic and subsequently serving others to do the same and to achieve and to go on to achieve their deepest desires. My guest wants you to ponder the following questions. Doesn't it amaze you the amount of life you witnessed? All that your senses have experienced, and what did you get from it all? I know I have considered the above. We'll be getting into these questions and a lot more. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Kim Lovegrove, everyone. Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Danny. Well, hi to you and hi to everybody watching.
Yes, you've just been on your travels and just came back late last night after many delays, so it
Yes,
makes it all the more valuable that you're here and
mm,
you've weathered all the storms and challenges along the way.
I've been looking forward to it. Mm,
Good, me too.
mm.
We've alluded to your backstory, just very potted history there for a moment. Um, where do you start? Where would you like to start?
Most people don't have such a long history as I do.
Oh,
um, I, for a lot of years, I didn't notice signs. I just plowed on. I was that, you mentioned the army. Yes, I would soldier on through thick and thin, push myself to beyond my limits to because if I didn't do it, who was going to do it? That sort of thing. Um, my childhood, could have been a lot happier and a lot nicer, but we don't need to go way back there. But um, I persevered I really wasn't suited to be an army officer. Actually, I did, climb the ranks, but and eventually decided that it was time to go. I thought it was best for my children actually too, but it was a big decision to make. And I had qualified in other things while I was still serving. I had studied all the way through totally different things like beauty therapy, homeopathy, uh, natural sciences, kinesiology. That was all. And I had my own little clinic on the side whilst I was still serving. So if I wasn't away on exercise or somewhere the army decided to send me at short notice, I did that as well. So I pretty much had been taught, I'd been raised to work very hard and do everything perfectly and be perfect in myself. And it took me many, many years to realize that that was a lot of really bad training. Uh, so then where would you like me to digress to now, Danny? I think I've lost your sound. Oh,
sorry.
there
Yeah,
you are.
yes, we had a
I
few.
haven't learned to lip read yet.
Yeah, we had a few technical issues there when he was talking. I was like freaking out, but I managed to sort them. Right. You mentioned that you've had some health challenges, so
Yes, yeah.
it would be a great place to start. How
Okay.
you navigated those.
Well, I had resigned from the army, and then I was pursued and encouraged and coerced to rejoin after some years. And I went back, and it was 12 months after I had signed on again that I was training to go over to a war zone. And during the last training, I came over a very high wall with a rifle and pack on my back, and one leg went into a big deep hole that had been left by a lot of blokes, and the other one didn't and snapped virtually in half. And unfortunately, people saw what had happened, but then assumed because that I was tough enough and I would be okay. And so they went off and left. I was left for dead, literally. The man left behind. So apart from the physical injury, that feeling of not being good enough to save, or nobody cared, or whatever, of course, reinforced a whole lot of childhood not being good enough, not being perfect enough, not having been able to do enough, whatever. So there was quite a lot of healing to do after that. There was a lot of surgery. I had 8 operations to save my leg. So it's many, many months. In fact, if you add the months together, because they did let me out occasionally, it was well over a year I was in hospital, and I didn't walk walk properly without a walking frame or crutches or whatever for 4 years. And unfortunately, they didn't. I had to create my own. After a long period of months, I realized I needed to do the work and create my rehab journey, because I would get things said to me, like when I would ask questions of the doctors, and they'd say, well, at your age, what can you expect? And, I thought, well, my age has nothing to do with it. And you didn't know that I was a very active, healthy person before this accident. And my first surgeon did a particularly poor job. And then I had 3 other surgeons, and a total of 8 operations. But since then, I've trained as a yoga teacher. I've done quite a number of other physical things. And during all the lockdowns we had where I live, I walked many, many kilometers.
So what did you do? You said you previously practiced homeopathy and kinesiology and other things. So how did you put into practice your own healing, knowing that the answers you were getting from the doctors was limited at times and not complete? So how did you put your own background into play to get to the stage where you're walking again?
It took a while for the veritable penny to drop. I was my own worst enemy for a while. The staff I was in 3 different hospitals as well, but generally I achieved the nickname of the beautiful warrior. Yes, I fought, and I held on for grim death, and I stiffened up, and I sometimes think I went hours without breathing, because it was the only way I could deal with the pain. So it wasn't helping at all. None of that was helping. And in those early stages of hydrotherapy was my savior. I loved hydrotherapy, and it was peaceful, and it was supportive, and I could relax, and it was my most favorite time of day. And I was relatively out of pain there. But then I had to, I would listen to a lot of, I couldn't read because I was on such strong painkillers that my brain couldn't, we just keep reading over and over and over the same paragraphs. So I would listen. Sometimes I would have to listen a lot. And I started more longer meditations. And I told myself, all right, stop hanging on, just let it go, just surrender. And in fact, I talked about surrender in my first book towards the end, how I'd learned to do it. I'm embarrassed to say that even then I had not really learned the true meaning of surrender. For myself, it had been a huge step, and I had surrendered to a degree, but I had not fully surrendered. But every little bit, every inch I could make more towards surrender helped. And to just let go and release the anger and the blame. And one doctor had the heart to recommend me to a psychologist because I had anger issues, and about the first surgeon who actually made my leg worse. I said, well, I think I'm quite entitled to feel the way I do about him. But yeah, I had to learn to focus on where I wanted to be rather than where I had come from, what I had been through, and the pain. I just had to, as long as that kept me in like a victim mode. And I didn't think I considered myself for a while I did, but then afterwards I thought, no, I'm not a victim. But of course I was. Well, all I could think of was pain and the system that had caused this, and then the medical system letting me down, and I just had to get out of that frame of mind, that victim mode, and create a pathway for me to move forward. And like, if no one else was really going to help me here, I had to find a way to, look different to the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I kind of was that for a long time when I was upright. Yeah.
I have a couple of questions for you. Do you find it like I get asked onto podcasts, and I get asked on to doing various things, writing articles about my cancer journey, and it can get unsettling because you relive the emotions and the trauma.
Mm.
How is it for you when you're reliving this? Is it, and building up to this podcast, does it unsettle you, or are you kind of detached from it now? How is it for you?
I'm really happy to say I'm now detached from it.
Good.
It was not I can say probably until a year ago, it still would have upset me. I think I stopped for a long time, and people said, oh, you have to write a book, write the story, tell your story. I couldn't. I would always kind of get choked up with tears, and I couldn't do it for a long time. Now I can, and I don't do it too often, because initially I had to just not go there, and I avoided talking about it because I thought, no, I just need to focus. But with time, and as I said, releasing I didn't understand fully the meaning of releasing either for quite some period of time. And there's a lot of power with releasing that, and because it's taking up space, that energy is taking up space inside your body. We right? And I've lost you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yeah. So if when we keep those memories so active, like Joe Dispenza has talked for years about getting the wisdom from the memories, where the emotion is no longer there, but like with meditation and inward focus, the pain and the emotion dissipates until it's no longer there, but the wisdom is left behind. And so without sounding too cliche, yes, there's been an awful lot of gold in my very painful accident, surgery, and recovery. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, because when I can talk about my drug addiction years without pain, without connecting to those emotions. I could go on a podcast and talk about that without it unsettling me. I have been able to for years, whereas I'm not there yet with my cancer journey. So you mentioned letting go, and so what does that look like to you? Can you wrap some words around it? Because I don't know if I don't know if I could, to be honest. So
yeah, it is a hard thing. I think we all do it slightly differently too, which is, in fact, while I was away, I just digress for a moment. Somebody said to me, why you're trained in so many different areas? And I use a lot of NLP, and I've done family constellations, and because some of our blocks and things are caused by, they're in our subconscious, and if they weren't there, we would have fixed them ourselves, but we can't fix them because we can't locate them and identify them in our subconscious. But it's not, oh yes, I'm thinking this, I've got to stop thinking it, because that you're already putting focus on that thing you're trying not to think about or not hang on to and just let go of. I found the simplest way to, and because I've been a practicer of meditation for years now, it's easier for me to get into that void and see what's there for me to see or notice or learn about, and downloads that come. Get into that place and be very peaceful. There's a good word. In fact, I never have had, like, leading up to the initial accident, my life was always a struggle. It was always 110% and full on and very little sleep and just go, go, go. I had been a single parent of 2 beautiful kids. I didn't want them to have the childhood I had, so I pushed myself always to the limit. And there was never peace. And now I have so much inner peace. It's taken a long time, and I wish I had experienced it sooner, but the peace that comes with letting go of shit and baggage and crap that you just carry around. But how do you identify that? Just get as peaceful and comfortable as you possibly can. And I wouldn't call it a body scan. Some people do say scan your body for and I did try a few other practitioners to help me do this, and I that's not helping. But persist, and there is parts of our bodies that hold things, and it's not necessary to identify what it is it's holding or hanging on to. Just know that there's something there, something that wants your attention because it's coming more up to the surface, so it can be let go of. And just kind of breathe into it, breathe through it in that part of your body. I can name the parts of my body where I used to carry it, over and over and over again. And, the same practitioner who I'd go for body work would say, it's always there. They didn't understand the energy behind it, the energetics, but physically they would say, okay. They knew where my spots were. My leg also has now provided it's really the only one now. It talks to me because it's been through so much. And it's a little bit of a, if there's something has upset me or maybe thrown me a little off balance momentarily, that it'll let me know straight away, that's my spot. But just because I had been in my teenage years, even 20s and 30s, an overanalyzer, an overthinker, controlling things. So because if I didn't, then there was no safety or security and there was no one else to do it. But to let go of that control and just feel into your body, feel where it is and even if you can't describe it, because some people don't visualize well, there are methods that will say, well, what shape is it? And does it have edges? Are they hard, soft, blah, blah, blah? What color is it? And, there are people who will say, what? But just if you can somehow sense it, whether it's like just a sense, a knowing, if you see it, all well and good, and you might hear it rattle or something, but somehow, or even smell, but it's important to use all our senses and identify that something, even if you look at it like this, just, okay, my whole body is here, but you might be aware of one part of your body more than all the others. Just focus on that part then and breathe through that part. And if you can see the breath going in and out of that part of your body, in a short space of time, it relaxes and lets go. And then the ease and flow, I used to hear about that ad infinitum, when I great. But if you can achieve, and you will, if you keep at it, it's important to be consistent and not, you might try it for 2 days. People do these things. Oh, that didn't work. And then they'll go and try another method or go to another practitioner, and because they're not prepared to. It does take work. it takes work and dedication and devotion to yourself and to whatever method that you think. Sure, not every method works for everybody, but when you think you know the method, then stick to it and don't give up, or give it a tweak. It's a bit like in homeopathy, where there are many remedies for conditions, and you can have the right remedy, but the potency needs tweaking, and you won't get the right result until you get the potency right, and then you get an amazing result straight away. So sometimes it just takes a little bit of a tweak, and but just don't give up. I suppose I had that on my side, that I was always persistent, and I was never one of those people that would give up. You know, I had that stick-to-itiveness, but well, I didn't have a choice for such a long time, because I was bedridden for a long time. I was told, do not get off this bed for the next 3 months, and that will give you a better chance of saving your leg. So I said, okay. So it gives you plenty of opportunity for going inside and just thinking and staring at the ceiling.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I was in hospital for 5 weeks. It was just a small amount of time compared to you. But and then when I got home, you know, I just didn't have even baseline energy for months. But my muscles wasted away. Like, I reckon after 5 weeks or 6 weeks of lying down, you know, like 75% of your muscle. Oh, sorry, my screen just got off. 75% of your muscle diminishes. So God, that's 3 months of not being able to get out of bed. My God.
And then, yeah, not a lot. My leg had just totally wasted after so many years. And I'll always remember my my son. I had to, because I hadn't dressed myself for such a long time. Even when I went home, I had a nurse that came in every morning to get me out of bed and, you know, and help me get the kind of showered and dressed and straighten the bed up, and then she would leave me. But I would wear very easy clothes that, you know, could just pull on, pull off, didn't need ironing, the very, very simple life. And because I was having therapy every day anyway, so I often needed to take the clothes or get in the pool. And we went away. It had been very difficult for my son as well. It was a bad timing in his stage of life when this all occurred. And I thought that we would go away for a week. He was going through just a very testing time himself. And so we had to go somewhere. There were certain criteria. A, somewhere I could afford. B, somewhere that was warm. Somewhere that there was water to swim. Somewhere where I didn't have to move very far, because I certainly couldn't do that. So everything was kind of easy to get to and comfortable. And he saw me the first day that he saw me at the pool. I took flippers along so I could try and work my leg a little bit more in the pool. And he looked down. He hadn't seen me undressed or since the accident. I think he saw this long scar once. And it's like, oh, awesome scar, Mum. Yeah, but the swelling had gone down by this stage. And he looked down and he was just so gobsmacked. And he said, oh, my God. He said, you need to do some calf raises. Being a dancer, you know, he knew that it was just so pathetically skinny. There was nothing. And I said, I'm trying, I'm trying. But yes, I understand the muscle, the right side of my body, even from like my waist, my hip down. Certainly no Kardashian bum on my right side, that's for sure.
Yeah, bless you. Thank you for sharing all this. I know before we get into your book, I would love you to talk about your son. You said the medics and the specialists had given up on your son as a baby boy, and you weren't prepared, and I don't blame you, to take that as your truth or his truth, and you went searching for other things. So can you talk about that?
Sure. He actually set me up for when the doctor said it's unlikely that I would walk again, and I'm sorry, that's not going to work for me, But yes, I stayed in the hospital in the intensive care ward with him for 3 months. I never even went out for fresh air. I just stayed there the whole time. And at the end, then we progressed up. We kind of went to another ward for a little while he could get off a lot of the bells and whistles. And we could go. While he was in there, I was giving him homeopathy, kind of, even though he was, getting all these IVs and everything else. I would pop little things under his tongue. He was very, very small. And it was interesting to watch the medical staff. There was a division. There was one lot that would like go for it, give him anything you've got, because they really didn't have much hope for him. Just go for it, give him whatever you like. And the other ones, they would just roll their eyes and like, oh, you're an absolute nutcase, they like, what do you think you're doing? And I just ignored them. No, there was no way. I was going to do whatever I could. And I am kind of, 100% or nothing, I must admit. But so I did everything I could, and I had support from I had a beautiful woman mentor who helped me along with my homeopathy, and she wanted me to take over her practice when she retired. So she would come and deliver different remedies to me, which was lovely. But when we came home, we came home with the prognosis that he's definitely deaf. He has some degree of palsy, and you won't be able to send him to a normal school to educate him. Oh, thank you. And you just need to stop at this hospital on the way home because he's too sick to go directly home. Just stay for 2 weeks in this rehab hospital there. All right. But I straight away got into stimulating him and helping, doing anything. He didn't kind of rest. Not that poor child never slept, but that wasn't my fault. They say that the bells and whistles and lights of an intensive care unit create bad sleepers because there's always something happening, in there. But then it became obvious there was another reason. And again, I was an overreactive mother. What would I know? That when I said there's this, there's that, there's that. So I went from doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor. Something else I will tell people, that I'm not saying don't have faith in the medical profession, or, it's a lot of, but never give away your power. And if it doesn't resonate with you, and if it doesn't sit with you well, get another opinion. And I had to get a lot of people to listen, and then offer what they thought. Some just aren't even really prepared to listen. And finally, this one did, under sufferance, because he thought I was nagging. And he also made the comment, and this was a $1 million neonatologist who'd written many books and was highly regarded. And he was a nice man. But he said, oh, look, we'll give him a scan just to shut that nurse up, because this nurse had said, you need to go back for sooner rather than later. So he came out very apologetic. I waited for the results, and he says, I am so sorry. He said, you need to see a neurosurgeon tomorrow. Oh, who would you like to see? And I thought, well, let me think. Oh, of all the neurosurgeons that I know, who shall I pick? So he recommended two, and one came more highly recommended. So and then there was an issue that, yes, the need was to operate very, very quickly, because what he had when he was in intensive care for so long was he had meningitis that had been not diagnosed quickly enough. And because he didn't have an immune system, and it developed quickly into roaring septicemia through his whole body, and he'd had many fits. And they said, we didn't discover it till it was too late. He won't survive now. But he did. But the scarring from the meningitis left him with hydrocephalus, fluid on the brain. And every time, so that is why he couldn't sleep, because every time he lay down, the pressure was excruciating. And but he was a very happy, beautiful, temperamental, had a beautiful temperament. So the doctor saw him sitting up and smiling, and there's nothing wrong with him. I said, well, there is. He can't move for a start. Like, he couldn't crawl because he was like always dizzy and his head was too big. And so we had the surgery, 3 attempts at it. The anaesthetist didn't want to, they thought he was too much of a risk. So a couple of times we'd go in and then it was called off, and then we finally had it. And from then on, it was, there was I rebuilding all these neural pathways, in any way, every way I knew how. So and it worked, and he loved, it was from music to, even before he could walk, I would dance around with him, and it was just all the stimulation, tactile and sound, and in the water with him, and no vaccinations, no drugs, no more antibiotics, nothing, all organic food. Tried to clear out all the drugs that he'd had. And it took me till he was about 7.5 before I could say, oh, I think he has an immune system that works now. But and he just eventually got stronger and stronger. Yeah.
How magnificently inspiring and empowering. It was homeopathy that initially saved my life. I don't think I'm being too dramatic there. I came home from hospital, and in the hospital I was getting regular anti-sickness injections, and I didn't get those at home because we were deep in lockdown, so I couldn't get visits from home from doctors and nurses in the community. And I remember thinking, I'm going to starve to death if something doesn't change, because I couldn't eat with all the nausea. And I stayed left to homeopath, Dr. Gurman's work, and he prescribed me something, and things changed, turned around rapidly. I could eat again, and because I lost over 4 stone, 4.5 stone, just crazy. So
that's a lot in a short space of time.
Yeah, it is. It is, absolutely. I'd love for you to talk about your book, because obviously you're an international best-selling author, which is like, wow, that's some achievements. How did that come about?
Well, somebody approached. Well, it wasn't my freestanding book. I was an author in collaboration. There were 15 of us in the first one, and I don't know how they discovered me, but they did. And so it was more or less about the journey of from me actually being taken by ambulance to hospital, and through my surgery and through my, it was an awakening, but it wasn't nearly, it was only opened a crack in the door, really. There was a whole lot more to, the door needed opening a whole further, I don't know, 190 degrees probably, but it made me realize that just look at life differently, because until that moment, and it was something that a homeopath who I know had heard about my accident. She sent some homeopathy over to the hospital for me. Just take this. And she sent a message before. She said, because for the first time in your life, you can't trust the one person that you've always trusted to look after you. You can't. And I couldn't look after myself. I could not do anything. And then I realized, oh, yes, there was just, you can't do it. And I realized then that, like, my entire life, I had always looked after others. I'd always put them above me and before me. And I had just always pushed shit up a hill, really, pardon the French. It was all this world of energy and manifesting and things to happen through on a vibrational level, and using frequency and energy and intuition and thought. That was like so foreign to me back then. It was like, I can do this, and I don't care how hard I have to work, how long I have to work, but I will do it. And I always achieved it. And And I realized that this just can't possibly work that way, and now here it is. I had to learn to trust in a whole different way, which took, some time. But like I said, I was forced to see if I been told to, I was captive there. I was a captive audience and student. So it was time to learn to do things differently. Unlike the young 20-year-old that went to Tai Chi classes and enjoyed the movement, but like the whole time I'm thinking, oh, hurry up, I've got things to do, I just need to get through this. These to me at that time, these movements were painfully slow, and like I can do it all and just get it done and go somewhere else, do something else. So like Tai Chi all those years before had tried to teach me, but I wasn't ready for it then. And when I was in hospital, I learned to look and say, oh yeah, I missed that lesson that time. I wasn't paying enough attention because I never, sadly, I never really stopped to smell the roses. I did not relax or rest. There was always something to do because that had been drilled into me for, probably all my life. I realized then that when you said, how did I surrender or talking about surrender in the hospital and releasing, I realized when I was listening to something about, letting go, and not just letting, not like a dog with a bone, letting it go, but letting even the idea of something go sometimes, that I'd never been able to do that. In fact, I've been taught not to. But it's so much, it takes so much effort that it's always exhausting. It's tiring, to keep on that way. Just like, and it's not fun. There's no joy in life when you expend so much energy hanging on to make things work, so yeah, I came out of it all a very different person. And because I mentioned earlier, I had been trained to be a perfectionist. When my son got that diagnosis, or I got it on his behalf, it was like, oh, what, how you hear about parents wanting to count fingers and toes of newborn babies. And because he was beautiful, all the nurses had said he was the best looking, baby, and even prettier than all the girls, in the nursery. But what do you do with a baby that isn't perfect? How am I, like, everything in my life was perfect on the surface, What am I going to do with this baby that isn't perfect? And that was hard for me to ask that question of myself. Can I accept and fully love, this baby? Of course I did. But, when it was in that first hour of hearing that, it was like, whoa, he's not perfect, and I couldn't do anything about it. That was, you just accept it and love it. Of course, now he is perfect. In fact, if I can have it, seeing it was Mother's Day yesterday, let me, if I may, have a proud mama moment.
Sure.
There was a ballerina posted something on Instagram yesterday. I think it was the night before, but I happened to read it on Mother's Day. An appreciation post for my son. That's what she called it. Partnering you feels like I've won the jackpot. Not only are you smart, strong, caring, calm, and beyond patient in every rehearsal process, you are absolutely fire in capital letters on stage and can always take whatever I throw at you with grace. It has been absolutely incredible to be by your side at so many stages of this career, and I feel like one lucky gal. This is definitely one of those partnerships that just feels right. And she blew hearts everywhere. And this is the guy that's like, not only can he use his brain for, intellectual purposes, and he's very creative and a beautiful person. And I had no idea before my son went into that what a difficult and challenging career professional performance and dancers, what it is. So,
Yeah, the video's gone all funny. Can you still hear me?
I can. You froze in a picture.
Yeah, you froze as well. It'll be my internet connection. I don't know why. It's normally really good, but as long as you can still hear me. Oh, we're back. Yeah, I'm moving again.
Yes.
Cool. Yes. Yeah, that was a beautiful tribute
Yeah.
to your son. And
But also, it struck me. I mean, yes, it's fully deserved, and I always, as he says to me, "Oh, Mum, you're biased," but I know he's good. But I also considered it from another perspective. It was just so nice. She didn't have to write that or send it out or what. I thought, what a lovely thing and generous heart to just do that. She could just tell him or whatever. But yeah, she went to that time and effort to appreciate somebody, and we should all do that more. I think
yes,
express our appreciation and gratitude, because gratitude for our lives helps us every single day. We should always be grateful. Yeah.
absolutely amen to that. I'd love to finish off on when I made the advert for this live stream. You mentioned, or in your bio, it said that you managed to hone the skill of taming the inner critic. So, what sort of things did you do, or what was the experience on taming your inner voice?
Well, it took a while, I can tell you, because my mind could talk me in or out of anything. I didn't realize for such a long time that the internal battle within me between my mind and my heart, and it doesn't allow your intuition to really come to the fore when this is always going on. And no, I know better, I really am the smart one. This thing is saying that, but it was again another virtually on the daily, recognizing, having the awareness of where is it coming from? Is it coming from my heart, or is it coming from my head? Is it just an old belief that I keep replaying, which is limiting me, because that's what we form our beliefs, from previous experiences, and usually they're self-limiting and get in our way, create blocks. And sometimes we're just so unaware. And so it comes down to having this quiet time every single day. And that in itself was a battle for me in the beginning, because I always had something to do, and like there was always a reason to no, I haven't got time. I just got to do this and this and this, and this person's relying on me. And even then with my rehab, it took me so long to get from A to B, even from the kitchen to the front door, and then get into someone else's car because I couldn't drive. So just the trip to my, therapist or the pool was like something that should have been a normal person could have done it in a third of the time. So time was an issue. Can I just squeeze this into while we're here? The other thing I had to really overcome was lack. I was always in the old days coming from a place of lack of time and lack of money. Everything seemed to come down to that. But time was really the big one too, even when I got over the financial thing. Lack of time, never had time. And basically you will never win if you can't get out of that place. If you're always coming from a place of lack, you cannot move forward. You lose all your power, and you will never achieve or see the things that you desire and the beauty in life if that's always the place where you are residing, you know. So I had to learn to get out of that. But I was answering another question. What was that, Danny?
Yeah, silencing the inner critic. It's kind of all connected.
Yeah. Don't. I think the secret, and it certainly was for me. I listened to a lot of techniques and advice, but the one that really worked for me was don't try and push it away or shut it up or like argue with it or whatever. Just thank you. But now today I am choosing this. Thank you for your input. Thank you for acknowledge it, whatever it's saying and encouraging you to do or telling you you can't do this. Just, okay, thank you, but I've found another way. Thank you, I choose this. I hear you, but I choose this. And eventually it just gets quieter and quieter. It recognizes, it does actually become desperate at some stage because it's like it senses the fight, you know, that, oh, it's losing its power. It's kind of the ego is up there with all these little voices and says, you know, because it doesn't understand consequences except its own, but it will, yeah, no, you can't do this. No, you're not good enough. You're not smart. You, for some reason, it's not going to work. You know, you've tried that before, or you know, the doctors have told you this, and it will always try to drown out your intuition or or your gut feeling or your heart until you just ignore it. Well, you acknowledge it, then you ignore it. You don't pay it attention. It's not worth the attention. And really, when you pay it attention, that's a waste of energy anyway. Energy that can be better spent towards what you want to achieve. You know, redirect your energy to the goal, the aim, the better health, the new relationship, the better financial position, the more successful business, and just let it yabber on in the background, getting fainter and fainter and fainter. But yes, don't waste time arguing with it or trying to hit it with a hammer or, you know, just thank you. I choose this today. I found that to be the
I
best.
love that. How powerful and empowering is that? I know, like, my way of thinking about it is validate it. As you see, acknowledge it, validate it, but don't make it right. And
Yeah.
don't run with the story and don't believe it. Just validate it. Thank you for your input.
Yep.
It's not helping me right now, but I choose to do it. Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. Yes, great stuff. Thank you so much, Kim. Do you have any final thoughts before we end this live stream?
Just I've learned to be aware. As I said, I used to sail through from A to B in a straight line always, because that was getting to the destination was you got a gold star for that. You got the reward, you got the result that you wanted or whatever. You miss so much along the way when you do that, you know. And sure, my rehab journey had a lot of ups and downs and turns and twists, but there are people I met on the way. There are things I learned about life. There's certainly a lot I learned about myself. And, you know, it took a great financial toll too, because, you know, medical costs anywhere in the world, I think, are, you know, huge mountains to overcome. But we are getting signs and messages every day in every way that come into our awareness, and most of the time we just don't notice. You know, they come in our ears, they come through our eyes, we can smell them. Sometimes they're just senses, but it's all around us. And we just listen with our ears, not just hear things, but really listen to what people say, what nature's saying. You know, like some people, I've walked through parks, you know, with people and they don't hear the birds. Like, how can you not? You know, just shoot a minute and listen, you know, to the running water. All our senses are receiving messages, and it's information, it's input, and it's stuff that will make our lives richer if we pay attention, you know, and learn from it. For God's sake, don't ask for a sign and then ignore it when the message comes. You know, a lot of people do that. You know, then you still, yes, it's the whole thing about being aware. You know, look, listen, just be quiet and see what comes to you. You know.
Absolutely. You've been fantastic and amazing, Kim. Thank you so much. How can people reach out to you?
Well, it's largely referral that I work out, but I have an Instagram account. I am Kim Lovegrove. You can email me on kimmlovegrove@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Most people won't want to ring Australia, but I won't bother with the telephone number. But yeah, I operate in person and on Zoom, and I'll be doing more work over on Norfolk Island. I just discovered, where I just returned from, because it's a beautiful place, and I think very healing just in itself. And people have expressed an interest in either doing retreats there with me, and certainly there are people who live over there who want me to come back. So I'll be doing bits and pieces there. But yes, please email me, kimmlovegrove@gmail.com, and I promise to respond, or follow me on Instagram. And a Facebook account, but that's not very active. I'm not a great social media person, because I just didn't want to do that to myself. But I try to keep in contact. Like you said earlier, I'm a quiet one. Many people have said to me, "Oh my God, you know, you're the world's best kept secret." But if you can track me down, I promise you'll be pleased and grateful, and it will be of benefit to you.
Okay, Kim. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'll put those connection points in the description of this video, on the comments when we're done. Thank you so much for your time, your expertise, your wisdom, and sharing your experiences with us. They've been very valuable. I've gotten a lot out of it. My video has gone funny again, but we'll have to do this again at some point.
I would love to.
Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Leave your comments, your questions for Kim in the comment section, and we'll circle back. So thank you for watching. Much love, and bye for now.
Thank you.
Oh.